Clearly, anti-hate legislation is an opportunity for the ADL to intimidate and manipulate Americans. As stated earlier, the ADL exerted relentless pressure upon the Canadian government to ban group defamation. They succeeded. Now, Canadians are in danger of prosecution if they criticize homosexuality publicly, or even state publicly that gays have a higher rate of AIDS than anyone else. In America, the ADL is working even harder. Their initial intention is not to ban free speech entirely, but to convince us that certain forms of speech can be outlawed without doing violence to freedom of expression in general. Incredibly, despite its Orwellian overtones, this legislation has encountered little significant opposition. Few recognize it as the foundation upon which a system of police-state spying and censorship can be built. Throughout the last three-quarters of a century, the ADL has justified its incredible power in the following way. It says that since hatred and intolerance are a huge and complicated problem, a very complex and even powerful watchdog organization is necessary to keep tabs on it. If there had been an ADL in Germany, we are told, there would have been no Holocaust against the Jews. The ADL clearly means business, and that business involves increasing restraint of the free speech of Christians and conservatives. It also means spying on such Americans. Let's turn our attention now to what the ADL above me is doing at this moment, and how that affects our lives. To do that, we must consider briefly how the ADL came into being.
In 1842, in New York, a Jewish fraternal organization, B'nai B'rith, was founded. Eventually, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica, 2,300 B'nai B'rith lodges would exist worldwide, with 500,000 male and 210,000 female members. In the early 20th century, the propaganda arm of B'nai B'rith was created. The Anti-Defamation League's main purpose was to protect Jews from anti-Semitism. During the 1930s, with the rise of fascism, the ADL began to flex its muscles powerfully. It attacked any real or potential threats to Jewish and eventually Israel's interests. The ADL established an incredibly complex and efficient network of propaganda outlets. These exerted tremendous influence over the way Americans began to view Jewish issues.
Increasingly, the ADL has convinced Americans that any criticism of Jewish behavior or the behavior of the State of Israel bordered on anti-Semitism. It is no accident that today the accusation of anti-Semitism is the kiss of death to the career of any public figure. For more than three-quarters of a century, the ADL has single-handedly influenced every aspect of our society to make criticism of anything Jewish a nearly unforgivable sin. How extensive is the ADL's propaganda and information gathering outreach? Listen to Congressman John Rarick in testimony before Congress in 1971.
The world's largest spy network, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, is either too powerful to be curbed or too well embedded to be mentioned or to come under public scrutiny. What is the ADL? It is a private investigating organization engaged in spying and preparing secret dossiers and reports, which it uses to suppress free speech and discussion, and to influence public thought and sentiment of an unsuspecting citizenry. How powerful is the ADL? According to Congressman Rarick, the CIA and the FBI are tinker toys compared to the ADL. In the congressional record, Congressman Rarick quotes the late Senator Jack Tenney of California, who said, "The Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith has become the world's most powerful Gestapo, the brain center of a vast spy network and the intelligence unit of a myriad of Jewish organizations. Their secret agents spy upon American citizens. Extensive files and dossiers are compiled on those whom they dislike. Throughout their multitudinous controls of the media of communications, they are capable of destroying reputations and silencing all rebuttal. A memorandum from the local ADL office charging that a particular candidate is anti-Semitic or supported by someone else alleged to be anti-Semitic is sufficient to defeat that candidate.
The ADL's national headquarters in New York City directs a vast army of informers in its network of regional offices, such as this, tabulating, evaluating, cataloging, and filing information on anti-Semitism.
We are beginning to understand something of the magnitude of the ADL's operation. We are beginning to appreciate its vast spy network sprawling across the nation and throughout the world. Our imagination is staggered by its apparent control of the avenues of communication.
Every ADL office is divided into two levels of activity. The most visible is the ADL propaganda program. This favors Jewish and Zionist interests. Through a vast and incredibly complex network of contacts with government, the media, education, cultural organizations, and churches, the ADL endeavors to portray Jews, Judaism, and the State of Israel in a favorable light. On the other hand, those who criticize Jewish behavior or institutions are vilified through these propaganda outlets as haters, bigots, racists, and anti-Semitic creatures so depraved that they should be denied any voice in public life. It is because of the threat posed by such so-called haters that a top priority of the ADL is the creation of anti-hate laws, which will criminalize anyone who criticizes Jewish interests or the State of Israel. The second level of ADL activity is its intelligence arm, or what it calls its fact-finding operations. Over the last 3/4 of a century, the ADL has amassed an enormous file on thousands of Americans whom the ADL suspects are critical of Jewish interests or could be. This file contains the names not just of those visible critics of Israel, but of right-wing conservatives who may, over the years, have given some indication that they disapproved of Zionist behavior. The ADL has made it clear in its writings that it considers all religious, political conservatives to be potential anti-Semites worthy of surveillance. During the early 1990s, the nation had a very rare opportunity to see the cloak pulled off ADL secrecy and to find out how extensive is its spying activity. In the 1980s, the San Francisco and Portland, Oregon police departments illegally created extensive files on right-wing, conservative, white supremacist, and skinhead groups. Ultimately, the Portland files were sent to the Intelligence Division of the San Francisco Police Department. There, they merged with the San Francisco files. An ADL spy, Roy Bullock, was able to obtain the names of these persons and organizations illegally. He did so with the assistance of a San Francisco police officer, Tom Gerard. In 1989, the Spotlight newspaper exposed Roy Bullock as an ADL spy. Warrants were obtained and the police searched ADL offices in San Francisco and Los Angeles, plus Bullock's residence. Before we tell you the details of what the police found in this search, you should know that any illegal penetration of police intelligence files or law enforcement computer databases is a felony and conspiracy. Only one conviction of such an offense can send the average citizen to prison. When police accessed Roy Bullock's computer, they found that the ADL and Bullock had indeed penetrated restricted San Francisco Police Department intelligence files and law enforcement computerized databases. In fact, they had violated the law beyond most people's wildest dreams. Although the ADL had obtained illegal information from an officer in the San Francisco Police Department, the department did a very thorough and impartial investigation of how it had been penetrated by the ADL and what the ADL had obtained. Police discovered the ADL possessed over 10,000 names of Americans and organizations, including 6,000 from the political right. These included names from the San Francisco Police intelligence files, but also many names merged from the ADL's own lists. Illegally accessing the Department of Motor Vehicles database, the ADL, through Officer Gerard and other cooperating police officers, had obtained 1,394 driver's license numbers. Included was information from private citizens' driver's licenses, including their photos, license plate numbers, and vehicle registration numbers. From the Law Enforcement Database, or RAP sheets, the ADL obtained confidential criminal histories, which included much information that could be used for blackmail. The ADL also illegally obtained postal information on many Americans, including post office box numbers. In addition, they obtained confidential immigration information on unsuspecting Americans, plus detailed banking information and personal phone numbers.
Police found many Americans had gotten into the ADL files simply because they had written to a right-wing conservative organization requesting information. Bullock estimated his computerized right-wing file contained the names of about 6,000 people. Some are members of right-wing organizations. Others may only have written to a right-wing organization requesting information. In addition, Bullock's ADL file contained police surveillance photos of persons involved in public demonstrations. The list also included a person's affiliation with other groups or public meetings they had attended. In the same way, Arab Americans who had written a letter to the editor critical of Israel were included. Quoting Police Inspector Roth, "Any Arab American with anti-Israel leanings or any Arab American who wrote letters to the newspaper editors expressing anti-Israel sentiments would be reflected in ADL LA files."
So determined was the ADL spy Roy Bullock to obtain detailed personal information on opponents that he would even search through their garbage. Police found intimate letters of the children of one such family, written to each other and carefully preserved by the ADL. They also discovered that although Bullock had been an employee of the ADL since 1954, the ADL had never paid withholding taxes on him or listed him as an employee. Instead, they financed his spy activities in cash. Ronald Roth, inspector for the San Francisco Police Department in charge of investigating this case, cites no less than 48 probable state income tax felonies committed by the ADL over the 5-year period preceding his raid on ADL files. Roth cites the possibility of 17 different kinds of violations of the penal code which the ADL indulged in, 3 kinds of violation of government code, and 1 kind of violation of the California Vehicle Code. A critical witness concerning the ADL's inner workings was David Gervitz, former fact-finding librarian for the ADL office in Los Angeles. Granted immunity from prosecution, Gervitz admitted under FBI questioning that when he was an ADL employee, there was never any restriction against passing on confidential information to Israel. Such would not have been difficult, according to Gervitz, because staff of the Israeli consulate regularly visited the Los Angeles ADL office, briefing ADL on affairs in Israel. Thus, there is every reason to believe that the Mossad, Israel's super-efficient spy organization, now possesses every name illegally obtained by the ADL in San Francisco and elsewhere around the country.